In Alexandre Dumas's The Count of Monte Cristo, Gérard de Villefort emerges as one of the most pivotal antagonists in the narrative. As the ambitious deputy public prosecutor of Marseille, Villefort represents a deeply flawed figure whose moral corruption and obsession with reputation lead to a profound personal downfall. His role in the wrongful imprisonment of Edmond Dantes sets the plot in motion, making him both a catalyst and a victim in the larger story of justice, revenge, and redemption. Role in the narrative. Villefort plays a central role in the betrayal and wrongful incarceration of the protagonist, Edmond Dantes. When Dantes is arrested based on a politically sensitive letter he was unknowingly carrying, Villefort initially appears just and objective. However, the situation changes dramatically when he discovers that the letter is addressed to his own father, Noirtier, a Bonapartist. Fearing that association with a Bonapartist could destroy his career under the newly restored monarchy, Villefort makes a pivotal, self-serving decision. He destroys the letter. He condemns Dantes to indefinite imprisonment without trial. This act of treachery is not motivated by personal hatred toward Dantes but by Villefort's overwhelming ambition and desire to protect his political future. Unlike Fernand Mondego or Danglars, whose motivations are rooted in envy or financial gain, Villefort's betrayal is a cold, calculated act, demonstrating how political self-interest can override moral integrity. As the story unfolds, Villefort continues to rise in social rank and becomes a powerful magistrate in Paris. However, his past crimes eventually catch up to him through the orchestrated vengeance of the Count of Monte Cristo, Dantes in disguise. The Count, seeking justice, targets Villefort's family and legacy rather than attacking him directly. This leads to a devastating chain of events within Villefort's household, including the exposure of family secrets and the eventual unraveling of his entire world. Symbolic significance. Villefort embodies several key themes in Dumas's novel: the hypocrisy of justice, the corruption of power, and the destructive nature of pride. As a public prosecutor, Villefort is supposed to represent the law and uphold justice. However, he becomes a living contradiction. While he outwardly champions law and order, his inner life is riddled with deceit, manipulation, and ambition. He is willing to sacrifice an innocent man to preserve his reputation, revealing how those in power can manipulate legal institutions for personal benefit. Additionally, Villefort's relationship with his own family, particularly the discovery of his past affair with Madame Danglars and their illegitimate child, whom he attempted to bury alive, highlights the extent to which he conceals his sins under a facade of propriety. The child, later revealed to be Benedetto, who becomes the criminal Andrea Cavalcante, grows up to be a key figure in Villefort's downfall. Thus, Villefort's crimes quite literally come back to haunt him in the form of his abandoned son. Villefort's wife, Heloise, adds another layer to his symbolic function. Her willingness to commit murder, poisoning members of the family to secure wealth and status for her son, mirrors Villefort's moral decay. Their household, which should represent order, law, and domestic stability, becomes a microcosm of chaos, crime, and ethical collapse. Villefort's inability to control or protect his own family, despite being a figure of authority, underscores the futility of power built on lies. Broader implications. Villefort's story arc reflects Dumas's broader concerns with justice versus revenge, fate, and the limitations of human control. While Villefort believes he can control his fate through calculated decisions and manipulation, Dumas illustrates that justice, whether divine, poetic, or artificial, has a way of catching up to those who perverted Villefort's attempt to erase his association with Bonapartism, his efforts to cover up his illegitimate child, and his blind trust in his wife's virtue all point to a man trying desperately to manage appearances. Yet, the more he tries to control his world, the more he unwittingly accelerates his destruction. His eventual breakdown is one of the most powerful moments in the novel. After learning that his wife has poisoned multiple members of their family and that his buried child has returned as a criminal, Villefort loses his mental composure. The once calm and calculating magistrate is reduced to a broken man, symbolizing the final collapse of the moral and legal system he falsely represented. His downfall mirrors the downfall of institutions corrupted by self-interest and hypocrisy. Moreover, Villefort's fate raises questions about moral accountability and the nature of justice. While the Count of Monte Cristo enacts a form of vengeance that feels righteous, Dumas complicates this by showing the collateral damage it causes. The deaths of innocent family members and Villefort's mental collapse challenge the idea of simple retribution. Through Villefort, Dumas seems to ask whether vengeance truly restores balance or merely perpetuates suffering. Though an antagonist, Villefort shares characteristics with classical tragic heroes. He is a man of great talent and ambition, but his tragic flaw, hubris, leads to his downfall. His belief that he can manipulate justice without consequence and maintain a flawless public image blinds him to the festering corruption within his personal life. His story is not just one of a villain punished, but of a man destroyed by his inability to reconcile ambition with morality. This tragic dimension adds depth to Villefort's character. He is not merely evil but deeply flawed and human. His descent into madness evokes both horror and pity, aligning with the Aristotelian notion of tragedy where the audience experiences catharsis through the protagonist's suffering. Conclusion. Gérard de Villefort is a complex and compelling figure in the Count of Monte Cristo. As a prosecutor who betrays justice for personal gain, he embodies the themes of hypocrisy, corruption, and the peril of unchecked ambition. His symbolic role as a false guardian of law reveals the dangers of institutional power in the hands of the morally compromised. Through Villefort's rise and fall, Dumas explores the devastating consequences of prioritizing ambition over conscience and the inevitable reckoning that follows. Villefort's actions serve as a personal punishment but also as a broader indictment of a society in which justice can be subverted for personal gain. In this way, Villefort becomes both a cautionary tale and a novel's philosopher's inquiries into the meaning of justice and the limits of human control.